Mutations, the evolving steps of ARK Survival Evolved, allowing your creatures to become improved, harder hitting, stronger versions of their tamed parents. It's an absolute must for all players to attempt, especially in the case of PvP and boss running. Mutations can certainly turn the tide. However, of course, allow access to a rainbow of colours also, allowing you to own a coloured dino for every mood, and setting them apart from their duller siblings. But what is the creature you prefer to mutate most? You're right kids, it's Raasclark and welcome to another top 10, as voted by my community polls here on YouTube. And if you've not got the foggiest idea on how to mutate, don't worry, I've got a quick guide which I'll leave in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share around, and let's get into it. So in at number 10, the Mantis, the Knockout King. Tamed with deathworm horns or now recently rhino horns at a lesser affinity, as well as bug repellent and ghillie if you don't plan to use a trap. The Mantis is the ultimate melee tool, the only creature able to wield a variety of weapons and tools. It excels in both harvesting and knocking things out when pumping that melee stat. Meaning with a good quality wooden club and boosted melee stats, you have a one-punch Mickey O'Neill, your ticket to easy cheap taming and some pretty good defense. And in the last year was given some TLC love to allow breeding, and with breeding comes of course mutations, so it's no surprise to see this just makes the list, with you wanting to mutate that melee in particular to slap anything to the ground, but additionally harvest in quicker succession, as with more melee and a good quality pick comes more harvesting, boosted even more with its alternative leap attack. In at number 9, the Therazino, the Tickle Chicken. Surprisingly lower than expected and tamed the conventional way, the Theri possesses very similar traits to the previous listing, offering not only one of the hardest hitting attacks out there, adding a little torpor effectiveness, ignoring armour for the most part, able to hit riders off saddles with its ult attack, and all the while being a herbivore, can be fed sweet vegetable cakes restoring 10% of its health over 30 seconds, making it the go-to choice for dragon fights, with it hitting herbivores less also. It is also one of the best harvesting companions out there, being customizable in a special pinwheel, improving power harvesting for wood, thatch, rare mushrooms, raw meat, raw prime meat, raw fish meat, raw prime fish meat, hide, chitin, keratin, leech blood, and organic polymer. Delicate harvesting for fibre, silk, rare flowers, plant species X seed, plant species Y seed, wood, thatch, sap, cactus sap, rare mushrooms, raw meat, raw prime meat, raw fish meat, raw prime fish meat, hide, chitin, keratin, leech blood, and again organic polymer. And a fantastic choice with its bite attack for all berries, hide, chitin and scrap metal, and that's before we even talk about the other resources harvestable from other corpses. And being a hard hitting harvester, it makes perfect sense to work on pumping that melee in mutations to harvest even more and hit even harder. In at number 8, the Argent Tavis, the Flying Multi-Tool. A surprising entry owed perhaps to its lesser endgame requirements, and again tamed the conventional way. It can't be ignored the RG is one of the best flyers out there, as per my top 10 flyers vid, and offers some versatility in hard attacks and weight, the latter being likely a large reason for you wanting to mutate, as well of course as perhaps looking pretty awesome when mutated, as an RG is your go-to companion for carrying a grinder, such as an Anki for metal farming. And with more weight, mutations means more to carry per run, and with grinding mats being one of the more laborious things in ARK, who wouldn't want to get more done in one go? In at number 7, the Spino, the Sea Rex, and without question a great choice, tamed again the conventional way with slightly lower health but more melee than a Rex, but offering a buff to rival many creatures in certain scenarios, a hydrate buff, offering improvements to movement speed by 20%, attack damage by 15% and health regeneration by 25% when touching water, meaning in areas such as the Broodmother arena that possesses water can turn Spinos into war machines, improved even further when reared onto its hind legs. It's undoubtedly a great choice for hard hitting, and naturally something you'd like to mutate to improve both its melee and health to be the stronger opponents they can be. In at number 6, the Managama, the Flying Chili Breath Dog. One of the most versatile travelling damage mounts in the game. The Managama, whilst lacking in close quarters combat, can be devastating from range, with its ice breath attack freezing foes from a distance while offering some damage, and able to zip in and out from danger with its aerial acrobatics in 3 offerings of a jump, boost and lunge. Each when combined with its breath attack can severely deplete its stamina very quickly. and after several nerfs in the past, its base offering of these abilities can be quite poor set against other creatures. However, it can and obviously does push you to mutate and improve those stats further to hold much more stamina and damage, setting these flying dogs to be uncontested when holding improved stats. In at number 5, Wyverns, the winged elementals. A slightly controversial entry, rolling every one of the 8 iterations into one choice, and if you want to know which one is the best of the best, as well as how to obtain them all, go check out my ranked Wyverns video, link in the description. Being breedable in the last year, now offering the ability to mutate, the arguably best land-to-air creatures in ARK owe to one of the best bites, let down by a lack of saddle, but made up with a variety of devastating breath attacks depending on your Wyvern of choice, coupled with a cheeky charcoal harvesting ability and the ability to carry larger dinos than most, means it's totally worthwhile to put the effort into mutations. And as said, with a lack of saddle, it's worthwhile to spend the time in mutating health to help compensate as much as possible, and with breath attacks draining stamina quickly can make a huge difference in mutating that stat, as well of course as beefing up the powerful elements each breathes. In at number 4, the Denonicus, the Flying Raptor. Getting into the higher tiered voted now, the Denonicus is certainly a strong contender as well as being a very easy tame to obtain, early on owed to its eggs on Valguero, and possibly being one of the most featured creatures throughout our top 10s. As the Denonicus doubles as not only a great mount for travelling, but it's perhaps overlooked to possess one of the most devastating blows to bosses, able to latch onto larger creatures, yes including bosses, offering a bleed effect that deals 0.3% damage over 7 seconds per bite, bypassing armour with a pack bonus to buff damage further, buffed further again with a vocalisation ability over 45 seconds. Being a go-to choice for many boss runners, and with a reasonably low raise time, it's a sure option to work on mutating, improving its overall health, stam and melee to be even more devastating against those tougher foes. In at number 3, the Rex, the ARK OG. If you've ever looked into mutations before, it's without question you likely saw the Rex being the example made. As one of the most iconic creatures in ARK and historically the go-to choice for boss running, owed to a great balance of both health, stamina and melee, the Rex has been the flagship for mutations throughout ARK's history, in both colour and stats. And worthwhile, coupled with a decent saddle, Rexes are formidable opponents in any fight, tanking a great deal of damage while biting back just as much. So it makes perfect sense to spend the time in mutating these to hold the best stats possible. And with them being around for as long as they have and mutating taking as long as it does, these are and were likely the creatures you spent a long time in being the best mutations available. But being in third place, there seems to be a new contender in town. In at number 2, the Shadowman, the Lionfish Lion. Tamed incredibly uniquely and frustratingly passive with fish baskets, certainly needing a guide to understand for best effectiveness. The Shadowman, being quite a new addition to the world of ARK, has presented itself as somewhat the new champion of all-around arcing. Having a natural inbuilt armour, improving with levels, and holding a wealth of abilities from a bite that hits harder when held down, and much harder with a filled momentum bar. Warp attacking enemies from range, even those in the air, and able to hit multiple at once if held down. Pulling an Uno reverse card on anything that hits it, passively dealing damage back, and that's before we even look at its gender unique ally buffs, in either invisibility cloaking or buffing depending on the gender, and its incredible movement speed both in water and leaping through the air. It's unquestionably a fantastic choice for all occasions, and with that means a fantastic choice for mutations. And with more mutations into either health, stam and melee means a harder hitting, tanking, enduring foe to rival most scenarios, including of course bosses, slowly becoming the go-to choice over Rexes now, especially without the need to craft saddles anymore. Only let down slightly by a gestation period instead of an egg incubation, arguably an easier choice for mutating, especially with the introduction of egg incubators now, it's hard to argue the Shadowman should be a go-to choice for anyone that wants to spend their time and effort into mutating for the best version of one of the best creatures in ARK. But it's seemingly not the best creature for mutations in ARK. But before we get to that, let's have a quick special mention to the creatures that didn't just make the cut. So here we are in at number 1, the Giga, the king of the dinosaurs and seemingly the king of mutations. Winning by an almighty milestone, the Giga is an ultimate trophy to not just take down and tame, but mutate. Having one of the longest raise times in the game, raising just one unofficial can be a laborious task in itself, let alone just hatching an egg. But with the introduction of egg incubators, looking for the next mutation is now easier than it's ever been. But why mutate a Giga? Well, it possesses the biggest bite of any creature, dealing insane amounts of damage and with quite a wide AoE, clearing up most of the creatures in quick succession with inherently high base health, is a long-lasting siege weapon, only countered by another Giga in many scenarios, with its rage meter certainly being the devil's advocate. And with the best melee but a poorly leveled health and frankly poor stamina, to mutate these stats can be a huge turn in any tide, evolving these beasts into tougher iterations to genuinely be fearful of. Despite it perhaps being the ultimate PvP trophy, the Giga is additionally a great choice for tougher creatures it can face, and with a mutated version could be your path to being an ARK champion, if you've got the patience for it. Thanks all for tuning in, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, pop a comment below, let me know. What more top 10s would you like to see in the future? My name's Raasclark, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as always, peace out.